On a distant planet, far beyond Earth, there was a species known as the Vorn. They were proud, fierce, and feared by every other species in the galaxy. Their planet was a death world full of deadly creatures, harsh weather, and constant danger. To survive on Vorn's world, you had to be strong. The weak didn't last long, and only the most ruthless predators were at the top. For centuries, the Vorn believed that they were the strongest species in the galaxy. They had conquered their world, fought off other species, and survived the worst that their planet could throw at them. To the Vorn, no one could match their power. They looked down on other races, believing they were all just weak and fragile compared to them. Then, one day, a strange ship crashed onto their planet. The Vorn found the wreckage deep in the wilderness, surrounded by dangerous creatures and violent storms. At first, they thought it was just another ship from a weak species, easy to kill and take anything of value. But when they explored the wreckage, they discovered something strange. The ship was human-made, and it was clear that humans had survived the crash. The Vorn had heard stories of humans, but they had never seen one before. They were curious, but also confident. After all, the Vorn were the strongest. Humans would be no different. A group of Vorn warriors tracked down the humans. They were led by General Zanor, the strongest and most respected leader of the Vorn. He believed that it would be easy to defeat the humans, maybe even make them slaves, but what Zanor found shocked him. The humans weren't weak. They were far from it. The humans had made shelter in the remains of their ship, building makeshift weapons and creating traps to defend themselves. They didn't have the same strength as the Vorn, but they were smart. They had survival skills, creativity, and teamwork, things the Vorn had never expected. As soon as the Vorn tried to attack, the humans fought back with everything they had. The Vorn underestimated them, thinking their size and strength would be enough. But it wasn't. The humans used their surroundings to their advantage. They knew the land, even if it was dangerous. They knew how to avoid the deadly creatures that roamed the planet. They set traps, used fire, and attacked when the Vorn least expected it. The Vorn found themselves caught in nets, trapped in quicksand, and attacked from the shadows. The humans were not as strong as the Vorn, but they were clever. The Vorn were used to fighting with strength, but the humans fought with brains. General Zanor soon realized that strength alone wasn't enough. He had underestimated the humans, thinking they were fragile. But their true strength lay in their ability to adapt, think on their feet, and work together. The more the Vorn attacked, the more the humans fought back, each time learning from the previous fight, improving their tactics, and getting stronger. Zanor was puzzled. How could these small, fragile beings survive so easily in the face of death? How could they keep fighting back when they were outnumbered and outmatched? He had spent his whole life training to be the strongest, but the humans made him question what true strength was. As days passed, the Vorn started to retreat. They could not understand how the humans were surviving. It wasn't their power, their size, or their weaponry that made them dangerous. It was their unbreakable will to survive. The humans weren't giving up. They had no intention of letting the Vorn take their lives. Zanor finally called off the attack, sitting down in frustration. He couldn't understand it. To the Vorn, survival was all about being the strongest. But the humans showed him something different. Survival was about never giving up, no matter what. It wasn't long before the Vorn offered a truce. They were humbled by what they had learned. The humans had shown them that strength was not just about size or power, it was about the will to survive. General Zanor, who'd once thought of humans as weak, now saw them as equal survivors in this harsh world. The humans, for their part, accepted the truce. They didn't want to fight anymore. They had proved their point. They were not fragile beings, and they could survive in the harshest of worlds. In the end, the humans and Vorn parted ways, but with a new respect for each other. The Vorn understood that they were not the only Deathworlders. And the humans had learned that no matter how strong an alien race might seem, they could still be defeated if you fought smart enough. The Vorn, once so sure of their power, had been forced to acknowledge that the strongest didn't always win. Sometimes, the ones who survive are the ones who never give up. As the humans left the planet, General Zanor watched them go, deep in thought. For the first time, he truly understood what it meant to be strong. The strongest survive, but sometimes the smartest do too. On a planet far from Earth, there lived a species called the Nefari. They were proud and strong, built to survive in the harshest of environments. Their world was a constant battle against nature. Earthquakes, violent storms, and erupting volcanoes were everyday occurrences. The Nefari had evolved to endure it all, with their thick, armored skin and incredible strength. To them, survival was a test of power, and only the fittest could thrive. They believed no other species in the galaxy could match their strength. The Nefari had conquered their world long ago, learning how to live with the dangers. They built cities that could withstand earthquakes, developed weapons capable of defending them from deadly creatures, and used their strength to dominate other species. The Nefari believed they were the ultimate survivors, unbeatable in a world where only the toughest could last. One day, a human ship crashed on their planet. The Nefari were curious. They had heard of humans before, small, fragile creatures from a distant world. The idea of humans surviving in such a deadly place seemed impossible. But the Nefari were confident. They believed the humans would either die quickly or be easy to capture. No one could survive the way they had. A team of Nefari warriors, led by General Gorak, went to investigate. They expected to find a few weak survivors, but when they arrived, they were surprised to see the humans had already made a temporary shelter. Despite the harsh conditions, the humans were not just surviving, they were thriving. They had built strong defenses, using their surroundings to protect themselves. They even had weapons, though primitive compared to Nefari technology. General Gorak was impressed, but also confused. How could these fragile humans survive in such a dangerous place? He didn't believe it at first, but when his warriors tried to attack, the humans fought back fiercely. They used their environment to their advantage, setting traps and using fire to drive the Nefari away. It was clear that the humans had a different kind of strength. They were not as powerful as the Nefari, but they had something that made them dangerous, an unbreakable will to survive. Gorak's warriors were shocked. They had expected to easily crush the humans, but the humans never stopped fighting. They used every trick, every strategy, and every ounce of their strength to stay alive. The Nefari realized that the humans had something more than just survival skills. They had a spirit that could not be crushed, no matter what the planet threw at them. The Nefari had been taught that survival was about strength, about how powerful you were, how tough your body was. But the humans showed them that there was more to survival than physical strength. The humans had an inner strength, a will to survive that was impossible to break. No matter how many times the Nefari attacked, the humans refused to give up. They kept fighting, kept adapting, and kept learning. It was like they had an endless supply of determination. As days passed, Gorak grew more and more frustrated. The Nefari warriors had the power, the speed, and the weapons, but the humans had something they could not defeat, their will to keep going, no matter the odds. Gorak couldn't understand it. How could these small, weak creatures be so strong? One day, Gorak decided to face the humans directly. He led a large group of Nefari warriors to the human camp. This time, they would crush them once and for all. But when they arrived, they found something unexpected. The humans had built a trap, and the Nefari were caught. They struggled to free themselves, but the humans were too clever. They had planned for everything. It was not brute strength that defeated the Nefari. It was the humans' unbreakable will and ability to outsmart them at every turn. Gorak was furious, but at the same time, he couldn't deny the truth. The humans had defeated them not because they were stronger, but because they never stopped trying. The Nefari had fought with power and pride, but the humans had fought with something deeper, a relentless will to survive, no matter what. As the battle ended and the Nefari withdrew, Gorak felt something he had never felt before: respect. He had always believed that the strongest would always win. But the humans had shown him that true strength was not just about size or power. It was about the ability to keep going when everything seemed impossible. In the end, the Nefari left the humans in peace. They no longer saw them as weak or fragile. They saw them as equal survivors in their own right. The humans had taught them that survival wasn't about who could lift the most weight or fight the hardest. It was about who could endure the longest, who could keep going even when everything was against them. General Gorek returned to his people, carrying with him the lesson he had learned. The Nefari were strong, but the humans had something more, an unbreakable will that nothing could defeat. From that day forward, the Nefari respected the humans, understanding that their strength came not from their bodies, but from their hearts. The Nefari were powerful, but the humans had shown them that there was more to strength than just power. And in that, the humans were the true champions of survival. The unbreakable will had proven to be the most powerful force of all. The Exalocs were a terrifying species. Towering over most other creatures, their armored bodies were nearly indestructible. They lived on a harsh planet, where only the strongest could survive. For centuries, the Exalocs had ruled over many death worlds, conquering planet after planet, defeating every species they encountered. They believed they were the ultimate survivors, invincible and unstoppable. Their strength and advanced technology made them feared across the galaxy. The Exalocs had never met a species they couldn't defeat until they came across humans. A small human vessel had crashed on one of the Exalocs' conquered planets. The Exalocs were curious. They had heard of humans but believed them to be weak, fragile beings with no chance of surviving in such a brutal world. They assumed that the humans would be easy to capture, or worse, would have already died from the planet's many dangers. Captain Derek, the leader of the Exaloc scouting party, led his team to investigate the crash site. They expected to find wreckage and corpses, but what they found instead shocked them. The humans were alive. The humans had made shelter from the wreckage of their ship and had quickly adapted to the deadly environment. They had set up traps to protect themselves from the planet's savage wildlife, used fire to drive away the predators, and even scavenged resources from the planet to survive. The Exalocs were puzzled. These tiny creatures seemed helpless, yet they were alive. Derek's team began to observe the humans from a distance. They were stunned to see how quickly the humans adapted. They didn't have the size or strength of the Exalocs, but they had something else: ingenuity. The humans used their brains to outsmart the dangers around them. They built tools, created weapons, and found ways to survive even when it seemed impossible. The Exalocs had always relied on their strength and advanced technology, but the humans had shown them something new. The humans were not powerful, but they were clever. They used their minds and their resourcefulness to overcome the planet's many challenges. Captain Derek decided to confront the humans, believing they would surrender easily. But when he and his team approached the human camp, they were met with an unexpected defense. The humans had set up an ambush, using the terrain and their environment to trap the Exalocs. Derek and his team were caught in a net, and though they quickly freed themselves, they were stunned by how the humans fought back. It wasn't with strength or firepower, but with intelligence and teamwork. The Exalocs had always thought that survival was about being the strongest, the most powerful. But the humans had shown them that survival was about being adaptable, clever, and never giving up. No matter how many times the Exalocs attacked, the humans refused to surrender. They kept fighting, using their wits and their ability to learn from each encounter. The Exalocs were baffled. How could such a small, fragile species survive on a planet that was nearly impossible to live on? The human survival wasn't a matter of strength, but of resilience. They could endure pain, adapt to any environment. It was a strength that the Exalocs could never have imagined. Days passed and the Exalocs watched in awe as the humans continued to survive. They built more traps, strengthened their defenses, and made the most of their resources. Even when the Exalocs launched another attack, the humans fought back with everything they had. The Exalocs realized that humans were not weak, they were the ultimate survivors. Captain Derek finally called off the attack. He had been humbled. The humans had proven something he could not deny: that true survival wasn't about strength, size, or weapons. It was about willpower, creativity, and the ability to adapt to any situation. The Exalocs had learned that survival was not just about being the biggest or the strongest, it was about being the most adaptable, the most determined. The Exalocs left the planet, but they did so with a new respect for humans. They had been the ultimate survivors, showing the Exalocs that there were other ways to survive beyond brute strength. The Exalocs had always thought they were the top of the food chain, but the humans had proven them wrong. Back on their homeworld, The Exilocs shared their experience with the rest of their people. They spoke of the humans, not as weak creatures, but as beings who could survive anything. The Exilocs had learned that no matter how strong you were, there was always someone who could find another way to win. And the humans had shown them that the greatest strength came from within through resilience, intelligence, and a never-give-up attitude. From that day on, the Exilocs looked at the galaxy in a different way. They understood that survival wasn't just about power. It was about adaptability and the will to survive, no matter the odds. And in that, humans were the ultimate survivors. On the edge of the galaxy, the Kaldorians were known as the toughest species. Their homeworld was a place of constant danger, violent storms, deadly creatures, and impossible landscapes. Only the strongest could survive on Kaldor, and the Kaldorians were proud to be the strongest. They had built a society based on strength and survival, believing that to be the ultimate measure of power. They had never met a species they couldn't overpower. The idea of anyone being stronger than them was unthinkable. But then, they encountered humans. It all began when a Kaldorian ship discovered a small human colony on a planet near their territory. The Kaldorians had been exploring the area, searching for new worlds to conquer, when they came across a planet inhabited by humans. The humans were weak in the eyes of the Kaldorians, small, fragile, and soft. Their technology seemed primitive, and their survival on such a dangerous planet seemed impossible. The Kaldorians couldn't understand how such a fragile species could thrive in a world so full of danger. Captain Varn, one of the Kaldorian commanders, was curious. He had heard of humans before but had never seen them. He assumed that they were easy prey, another weak species that would fall quickly before Kaldorian strength. Varn led a small group of warriors to the human colony, expecting to find them struggling to survive or perhaps already wiped out by the planet's dangers. But when they arrived, they were stunned. The humans were not only surviving, they were thriving. The human colony was well organized, with fortified structures and defenses set up all around the area. The Kaldorians expected to see frail humans running in fear, but instead they found humans working together, building their homes, and making the most of the planet's resources. They used the environment to their advantage, crafting tools and weapons from the very land around them. The Kaldorians couldn't believe what they were seeing. How could such fragile beings survive, let alone build a life in a place where only the toughest should survive? Varn was confused but intrigued. The Kaldorians were strong, very strong, but their strength had always been physical. They dominated through sheer power, force, and weapons. The humans, on the other hand, did not have the strength or size of the Kaldorians, yet they seemed to be doing something far more impressive. They were adapting, learning from their environment, and using their minds to outsmart the dangers that the Kaldorians simply defeated through force. Captain Varn decided to test the humans. He ordered his warriors to attack the colony, thinking they would quickly crush the human defenses. But the humans fought back, not with brute strength, but with intelligence. They set traps, used fire, and worked as a team to repel the Kaldorian attackers. The Kaldorians were forced to retreat, shocked by how the humans were able to protect themselves. This wasn't just about power. It was about something deeper, something the Kaldorians had never considered before. The next day, Varn returned with more warriors, but this time he came with a new approach. Instead of brute force, he watched the humans closely, studying their strategies. What he saw amazed him. The humans were able to survive because of their teamwork, their ability to think on their feet, and their will to never give up. While the Kaldorians relied on their physical strength, the humans relied on their strength of character. They didn't let fear stop them. They didn't let the dangers of the planet defeat them. No matter what the Kaldorians threw at them, the humans found a way to fight back, to survive, and to protect their colony. The Kaldorians began to realize something they had never known before. Strength wasn't just about being big and powerful. True strength was about perseverance, adaptability, and the ability to keep fighting no matter how hard things got. The Kaldorians had physical strength, but the humans had a different kind of strength, a strength that came from their minds and hearts. They could take a beating and still stand up, still keep going, and still find ways to survive. Varn was humbled. The humans had shown him that there was more to strength than what he had always known. It wasn't just about how much force you could use. It was about how much you could endure, how much you could learn, and how much you could adapt. The Kaldorians had always been the strongest, but the humans had shown them that strength could be found in different ways. In the end, Captain Varn made a decision. He called off the attack and offered the humans a truce. He no longer saw them as weak, fragile creatures. He saw them as survivors, just like the Kaldorians. He knew that strength didn't always come from size or power. It came from resilience, from the will to keep going, no matter how hard things became. The Kaldorians returned to their homeworld with a new understanding of what true strength was. They had always thought of themselves as the ultimate survivors, but they had learned that there was a new kind of strength, a strength that came from the heart and the mind, not just the body. The humans had shown them that sometimes the greatest strength comes from the ability to adapt, to learn, and to never give up. A new kind of strength had proven that the strongest aren't always the ones with the most power, but the ones who can survive, learn, and keep fighting.